Welcome to the Hmong Peeps Show, the one and only show that brings you ordinary people sharing extraordinary insights. Well, maybe. Here is your host, Chew Effin Lee.
Hey, what's up, folks? This is Chew. Welcome to the Hmong Peeps Show. I saw this crazy video yesterday about this one Hmong guy in, I think, Laos. Apparently, the video is about this Hmong American guy that went over to Laos and was messing around with that guy's wife. He was about to kill the guy, the Hmong American, with a knife, a Hmong knife. There was a point in that video where I thought he was going to really stab the guy. And if you guys have seen that video, I think it's going viral at this time. And I can't remember the timestamp, but you'll know which part I'm talking about if you've seen it. He makes these scary screams at the guy. I wish I could try to do it. Let me see if I can do it. He does something like, oh shit, I can't even do it. Well, I can't do it because I've had a cold for the last week. Oh, that was ugly. So sorry for my poor imitation of that guy. But anyway, I saw the video and a couple of things, went through my head as I was watching the video. I mean, of course, I don't know the whole story behind it. I don't know what's fact from fiction or what's accusation from fact. I don't know. But I think if your spouse is willing to lay down with another person, I think that's, grounds for leaving your spouse. I don't see the point in escalating it to violence, domestic violence. I'm a huge opponent of domestic violence. And, maybe some people might say, well, Chew, you don't love your wife enough, that's why you won't fight for her or kill for her. I think I would go to such extreme depending on the situation. I could see myself defending my wife, or wanting to kill for her if she was in danger to protect her life. I can see myself going that route, but to kill for her because she's cheating with another man, I don't see myself hunting down that guy either, or killing my wife over it. I think I would say I love my wife enough to allow her to find true happiness. And if she decides to find happiness with another man, who am I to say no, right? So anyway, that video, when I watched it, it just didn't really make a lot of sense. But I get it that in that part of the world, that's kind of how they handle situations like that. It's still very traditional, and I don't think there's any written laws about you can murder, somebody who's cheating with your spouse. I don't think that law applies there. But in our culture, especially in our traditional culture, some of the elders do feel like, you can go to such extremes. It's some sort of a unwritten law. And that my parents have told me stories of how people who are in that kind of situation, they either get beat up, the person that is trying to be the homewrecker will either get beat up or killed, trying to be a homewrecker. So, yeah, it's a very disturbing video, and for me, it opened up my eyes that, wow, this stuff still happens. But then, we see and hear stories of that happening here, and it's just not in the Hmong culture. It happens in many cultures, even in this country. So for those people who are ready to, play the race card and start blaming Hmong people for their savage behaviors, again, it's across the board. Okay. Well, I wouldn't recommend it for people to watch that video, but I watched it, and it wasn't too graphic for me. It was just more of, for me, it was like, wow, is this guy really gonna stab him? And again, there's a part in the video where I actually thought I'm about to witness somebody get stabbed with a Hmong knife. For Hmong Americans, female or male, who still have that agenda to go back to Laos or Thailand to marry younger people over there, I'm still confused as to why they do it. I'm sure they have their legitimate reasons according to them, but logistically it just doesn't make sense to me. For example, if you've adapted this country as your home and you've learned the language, you've already established yourself with a nice job or career, and you want to go overseas, and it's just not even in Laos, but you want to go marry somebody and bring him to this country. You think about how you have to start a whole new process of teaching them the language, teaching them the customs, the culture. To me, it sounds like you're just taking 10 steps backwards. That's just how I see it. But again, whatever. Whatever floats their boats, I guess. All right, so today I wanted to talk about lifting the veil. What I mean by that is to really see things for what they are spiritually, and start challenging what we see and hear in the media about spirituality and spiritual abilities. So an example is this. A lot of Christians who are, I guess you want to call them extremists, they don't believe that gifted people are doing the work of God. But if you read in the Bible, I can't remember exactly where, but it's in the book of Corinthians. The Bible does talk about having spiritual gifts. And all those gifts are basically what makes up a psychic or a spiritual person. Another example is how we see in the media, the people make fun of gifted people, spiritually gifted people. They get ridiculed pretty fast and pretty easily. And they're made out to look like, lunatics or just crazy folks. But in reality, the U.S. government, they've used spiritual people to do some of their dirty work. For example, they had a program back in the mid-1990s, I believe, called remote viewing. And it was a secret government project that, it wasn't classified. It wasn't released or talked about in the public at all. And the government had these people who would come together and remote view, which is to spiritually see enemy targets or enemy positions. And they had this program going on for a long, long time, but it was under the radar. They did not want to make it public. So it's interesting to think about why the government would keep these things a secret. Now, my theory, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, okay, but my theory is the government does not want people to open up spiritually, because they know that if the public ventures into opening up spiritually, they can see the true agenda of the government. So that's not good for the government. All right, so what the government does is they will hide it in plain sight, which is basically lying about it. So hence, how the media ridicules anything that has to do with psychics or spiritual abilities, right? So think about that for a moment. When I say lift the veil, meaning See things for what they really are. Do your research, and don't buy into the whole thing of we need tangible proof, because we've seen so many shows on TV or on the internet where science research, they're able to use scientific method to detect spiritual energies, and that kind of data is tangible, but the government won't accept it, or the public won't accept it. And I think it's all due to the media brainwashing the public about how to view gifted people. When you see gifted people, the government's already planted in our head to say they're crazy, they're just talking a lot of gibberish, and it's nothing real, nothing to worry about. So see things for what they are. Your experience is real. I'm not saying that science is all bad. I think science is good. Same thing as I think skeptics are good to have around as well, because I think they help us challenge ourselves into further researching the issue at hand. I don't think skeptics are, all skeptics are out to disprove anything, but I think the more appropriate approach is to say, let's not make a final decision. Let's look into it more. To me, those kind of skeptics in science or scientists are the ones that I respect. But for those who have already made up their minds about this is fake and I'm going to prove it to you, to me that's questionable. All right. So think about it. Lifting the veil. Whatever you experience spiritually, it's real to you, and that's all that really matters. And the experiences that you have had, I am positive that if you share your story with a lot of folks, 9 out of 10 times those folks can relate to you and say, you know what, that's happened to me before. And so if there are these common experiences throughout the world, there's truth to it. We don't need science to come and say yes or no. I think I mentioned before on an earlier show, if it's a universal phenomenon, why do we need science to really tell us whether it's real or not? I think the other day, or not the other day, but last week, when I sat down with two of my friends to talk about some of these issues, we talked about, for example, mermaids and Bigfoot and UFOs. They have like cave paintings of what looks to be like aliens or extraterrestrials all over the world. So, and these are like very historic sites, most likely during the times of poor transportation. So how can two different cultures or ethnic groups draw similar paintings of similar entities but have never communicated to each other? They've seen something similar, they've documented via paintings in the caves, and we have to look at that and say, that's interesting. These two regions have never communicated, and they're able to draw something similar. Same thing as mermaids. There's paintings all over the world documenting mermaid creatures. Same thing for Bigfoot. There's stories, there's sightings all over the world of this hairy creature. It's very tall. But these people don't, back in the day, of course, they had no form of communication, and they're able to draw and document the same creature. It's a universal phenomenon. It's not anything that people are trying to make up. So, lifting the veil, just open your eyes, do your research, and really see things for what they really are. All right, that's it for today, folks. I will talk to you guys soon.